I'm Laura Bonnell, and this is the Living with Cystic Fibrosis podcast coming to you from Detroit. Please subscribe and even rate and comment on our podcasts when it moves you. I learn something new with every podcast, and I'm always inspired by the people that are showcased here. We don't give medical advice. You need to connect with your doctor for that. I hope that this Living with Cystic Fibrosis podcast educates you and sparks some volunteering or advocacy. The CF community needs people like you. Thanks to our sponsors, Viatris, Genentech, and Vertex for their support. Matt McCloskey was born in 1968 and was diagnosed with CF. He grew up in Philadelphia and has several other siblings. One he never met because he died from CF at 2 months old, and he will tell us about that. In 2015, he got a lung transplant. When he was born, his life expectancy was only 6 years old, and today he is 55. And he is currently running the Take a Breather Foundation. Jenn Bleecher, also on this podcast, is the community outreach volunteer for Take a Breather. She is an adult living with cystic fibrosis. She is married. She has a 27-year-old daughter, and she worked as a nurse for over 20 years. She also received a double lung transplant, and she has pivoted to volunteering some of her time helping with our CF Community Outreach Initiative that is building relationships for people with cystic fibrosis and other communities. She's doing a lot of work, and she's also assisting in planning on fundraising events and overseeing Take a Breather Schools Club program. And Jenn is 52 years old. And as you will hear in this podcast, she does graciously give all the attention to Matt, but I know she is doing so much as well. So although you may not hear as much from Jenn in this podcast, she does a lot of great work, as Matt will say, and we appreciate both of them. So thanks to both of them for joining us. Jenn Bleecher and Matt McCloskey, so glad to have you and to be able to talk about Take a Breather and all the work that both of you do. I first wanted to start with you, Matt, and talk about the CF life that you've lived. Give us just a brief description, how it's been going for you. You're 55 years old now. You lived before newborn screening and all of that. Things are so different in the past 55 years in the CF world.
Sure. Thanks for having me today. Yes, I was born in 1968. You know, when I was born, my mother thought I was showing signs of having CF. And how she knew this was my brother was born before me. He would have been my older brother, obviously. And he had CF, and he had a bowel obstruction when he was first born as an infant. He unfortunately passed away at 2 months of age. So he never made it home from the hospital. Bowel obstructions today, I think, are very treatable and easily fixed. But back then, they were not. Mm-hmm. So she was seeing all the signs and symptoms in me. Her doctor was just telling her she was a worried parent, which is kind of ridiculous at the time.
Oh, it's typical and still happens.
Yeah.
So not a lot's changed there.
Yeah. With the history and everything. So anyway, they ended up doing a salt test, and I was diagnosed pretty much at birth. Led an extremely healthy life through grade school, high school, went to college, had a career. I kind of pinpoint the progression of my disease at around age 40. At that time, I was diagnosed with CFRD, and I didn't realize the toll it was going to take on my body. I didn't understand it really, and how the correlation with CF and diabetes was. So I didn't understand it. So I wasn't doing all the things I should have been doing. Fast forward 45, started considering transplant. And that November, I was transplanted at the hospital of University of Penn. And, kind of started my new life with my new lungs. And, I'm blessed every day that I wake up and I'm breathing.
I want to get back to your health as well, but first I want to bring Jenn in and say hello to her and let her talk about what she's been through as well, CF diabetes, stage 3 chronic kidney disease, and your double lung transplant in 2020. Tell us, how your CF journey's been and how you're doing today.
Thanks for having us. My CF journey was very similar to Matt's, actually. Born in 1971. I had meconium ileus, the same blockage, had surgery, which luckily the doctor locally at that hospital knew it was a red flag for CF. And I really had a very traditionally healthy-ish childhood. I have 2 rare mutations, and I feel like the first 20 years of my life was all GI symptoms, a lot of belly aches. And if I ever missed school, it was really due to belly aches. And then in my 20s, it kind of flip-flopped. Like my GI system settled down and then my lungs started up. I do have a daughter. She's now 27 years old. So back then, I was just living life like my peers. I graduated high school. I got married. I went to nursing school. I worked at mainly pediatrics nursing for over 20 years, raised my daughter. And in my 40s is when my lung function really started to decline as well. And, we started discussing transplant. I had a high antibody level, which I didn't know what that meant at the time, but I would be a more difficult match. So I kind of listed a little earlier than when I really felt like I was, at the end, which was a really difficult thing to have to do, not feeling so down and out. But I did wait for 21 months and I did get my call on Labor Day. I just had my 3-year anniversary, long anniversary on Labor Day weekend. But it was at the height of COVID. The vaccine was not out yet. It was really scary. Nobody, the protocols were in place that only one person could be with me at a time for only 2 hours a day. And it was really difficult in that way. Just, no one there to help comfort me or advocate for me for the time I was in the hospital. But very grateful every day, just as Matt said, and doing very well. My lung function is 130%, and knock on wood, it's been that way since, I got the transplant. And I feel like time has been, rewinded for me till my teenage years. And
Wow.
Just grateful, for every day. Take it one day at a time because it's really all you can do anyway.
Absolutely. And then Matt, now you have oxygen on. You've had a lung transplant. What is happening?
So, right when I got my transplant, I got CMV from my donor. And unfortunately, I took a hit from CMV.
And what is that?
It's a virus. It's almost, they explained it, it's almost like shingles or what's the other one?
Thing.
Yeah. And it lays dormant in people. And unfortunately, they took me off the medicine after, it's a regimen they put you on. And they took me off that medication or protocol. And they thought at that point I would be able to fight it off. And unfortunately, I was not able to. So by the time we caught it, it had done, some damage to my lungs. So that was the first thing. And then the other thing is I got COVID in December of 21. So the spring of 22, winter and spring, I was in and out of the hospital a lot with the COVID going on. So I took a hit there. And now my lungs are in rejection as well. So I'm just talking to my team about, if I do another transplant, what my options are moving forward. if I want to go that route or not. So that's kind of where I am now.
Very sorry to hear that. And I know it's really hard and it's a lot to think about and it's a CF reality.
Sure.
And it really sucks. I'm sorry. I mean, that's the best word for it, I think, or maybe there's more, but that's the,
it comes with the territory. And I have always kind of just been, it's just my personality. I don't know. I let things roll off my shoulders and, it is what it is. And, I knew that this was always in my future and I never let it stop me from living my life to the fullest. And I'm not definitely limited in what I can do. I'm tethered, obviously, to the oxygen. So, my social life is not as good as it used to be. And, me and my wife were homebodies anyway. We have a dog and we live at the beach and we just make the best of our situation. So that's kind of where we are. And like I said, I always knew this day would be here. And, we're contemplating another transplant. We don't know what we're going to do though.
Well, in spite of all that you and your friend Jennifer, Jenn, have been through, in spite of all of that, in spite of this enormous decision now that you have to make, Matt, you are doing all this work with Take a Breather and not letting anything stop you. So tell me what Take a Breather is all about and what you both do for the foundation.
Okay. Like I said, I had a career in advertising, and that was mainly up until I was 40. But back up to 1996, our local town where we grew up, or 1995, our local town where we grew up was celebrating their centennial anniversary. And one of the events they were hosting for that centennial was a 5-mile run. So at the time I was living in Connecticut, but my two sisters were still living here in the area. They had their run and my sisters approached the borough and asked if they could take the run over the following year. And they said, sure, we're not, we're one and done. So my sisters took the run over and they made it a charity event. And they asked me, that they would like to donate the proceeds to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. And I was like, yeah, that's great. Thank you. I was very appreciative.
Mm-hmm.
But there was an organization that I heard about at the time called Make-A-Wish. Obviously, people know what Make-A-Wish is.
Mm-hmm.
But back then it was, I think it was starting out. And I just thought what they were doing for kids was just the coolest thing. So I talked to Amy and Molly and I said, hey, can we maybe do something like Make-A-Wish? So we contacted my CF Center at CHOP at the time, or my CF Docs, and we talked to them about it. And they provided a family. And our first family, after we had the run, we were able to send to Disney World. So fast forward to 2012, we officially created the foundation off of the run because we had been hosting this run all these years. And it was just kind of like our way of giving back. I had to basically retire because of health reasons, but I didn't want to just sit at home and do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So we created the foundation and right away we got a ton of support. We continued on with the run and then we added a bowling event and then we added a gala. Then we had another run down at the beach where I live here. So we were able to go and get sponsors from the pharmaceutical companies and just other local companies because now we were an official 501c3. And then with that, we've increased our wishes. We call them breathers. And the name of our foundation is Take a Breather. And that's what we want our wish recipients to do when they're away. Take a breather from cystic fibrosis. They still have to do everything, but We want them to go away with their family, all their siblings, all their loved ones. And for a week or a few days or whatever, just be able to kind of put CF on the back burner and spend the week laughing, smiling, just having fun, enjoying life together and, taking the focus off of CF. And that's what we hear when people get back. They're like, we were so happy and refreshed that we got to be able to take this vacation because, the struggles with CF, a lot of them are financial struggles and people just can't afford to do the vacation. So that's just some of the things. And we wanted to help those that are here now with us.
It sounds wonderful. And Jenn, you are the community outreach volunteer. Tell us what you do. And then is this helping any CF person at any age, or does it have to be 18 and younger? How does that work?
So I've been like a secret fan of Take a Breather. Our hospital, University of Pennsylvania, and our clinic there, like I always see there's plaques there. They do a lot of support for Take a Breather. So, as I stopped working, was home more, I found Take a Breather online and was like stalking a little bit like, oh, this guy, Matt, and look what they're doing. And they had this video that always made me cry, all the things that Matt was just talking about. So I finally, I think 2019, reached out, an email, I really want to do something, I'm not nursing anymore. I like to help or serve in some way. So, Matt and I kind of hit it off right away, his two sisters as well. And, it's a tiny little organization. And these 4 people, me number 5, they are doing amazing things, like just the 4 of them, or now 5. And really my role became Matt is not really on social media. And I've been doing things for the foundation for years and years. I was first in Adult Advisory Council and helped create BreatheCon and Peer Connect and all the initial, talkings of all the things. So I've been way more connected. So when I got in with Matt and I feel like we're brother and sister, I'm like, well, this is happening. So I kind of started being just the community, there's a lot going on here and you're not LinkedIn, which is fine, but let me tell you, and all the things. And Take a Breather, I think it's just a beautiful mission. Matt's using his new lease on life to do this for other people. And I mean, really, I have the chills right now to talk about it, Matt. I just, love you, love everything that you do, that. But I just wanted to be a part. I don't feel like I do a whole lot, but I'm a small part and I try to but it's a wish for anyone with cystic fibrosis, which is the other thing that's very unique.
So at any age, you think? Or?
Yeah. Make a Wish would be the children and Take a Breather does any age. They're referred by a CF clinic, usually by a doctor, social worker. We have forms. They send in a letter explaining the situation and usually have an idea of what the breather, could be. And then we all review it and the board says, yay. Well, it's never nay, really. Matt just doesn't want to say no to anyone, really. And I've seen the most beautiful stories come out of it. So it's
I want to
a real inspiration.
I want to hear some of those stories from both of you. But first, if someone's done Make-A-Wish, can they still do Take a Breather? Or do you discourage that because they've already sort of had a wish?
So we do wishes, some wishes on case-by-case basis. We have heard from people that they've done Make-A-Wish very early in life and they don't remember it. Or they did Make-A-Wish and they weren't feeling well the whole week. So yes, we will definitely consider that. We prefer to help people that have not had a breather already or Make-A-Wish or the other organizations, but we do consider everybody because we realize there are different factors that go on in this. And like Jen had mentioned, all of our recipients are pre-screened, and they're pre-screened through their CF care team. So if they come directly to us because we are on social media, we then tell them that we need a letter of nomination from someone on their CF care team, because we don't know who we're talking to.
Right.
Because anybody could, that happens out there, let's say. So every WISH recipient is pre-screened, and we get these incredibly amazing stories, some of them extremely sad, nomination letters. So like I said, we take all factors into consideration, and then we make our decision. Right now, we are based mainly in the mid-Atlantic region of the United States. And as Jen said, we don't like to turn people away, but our budget dictates what we can do. We get our money from our events, donations, grants, and just general fundraising.
Matt, and Jen, what are some of the best stories or some of the maybe coolest places that families went on their take a breather trip?
So I don't know what year it was. It was probably 7 or 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm reading this story about this girl down in Texas, Corpus Christi. And it was an article about she went to the movie with a friend of hers or her boyfriend, and she was coughing throughout the movie. And finally, I guess somebody had complained. The manager came up to her and said, "Ma'am, you have to leave. We're getting complaints." And when I read that, I was just so outraged. First of all, what they did was illegal.
Right.
So I contacted the person who wrote the article, and it was like, "Would you be able to pass our information on to the girl?" I think she was 16, 17. We just want to talk to her. So long story short, we contacted the competing movie theater in the town. It was like Scream or one of those movies. And we told them the situation. So we booked the entire theater, the showing. We told the girl she can invite all of her friends, anybody, family and friends, at the private screening just for you guys. We got her a limo, and we opened up like snack bar, all that. So she invited like 30 or 40 family and friends, took a limo to the movie theater and watched the movie. And that was just one of the many wishes, but that one definitely stuck out in my mind.
That's incredible. I just got chills. That's incredible.
Yeah, it was
and
just
for a 17-year-old to be so discriminated against in that way, just publicly humiliated and sent.
It was disgusting. And then we worked closely with our local Doug Schimel. At the time, he was a local NBC reporter, and he had a lot of contacts in the news business. And he's like, "Oh, Matt, you should have told me about that. We would have played that all over the face."
Yeah.
So I said, "Next time, Doug, I'll let you know." Yeah, and it turned out great. She had a great time. And it's those stories that keep us going. If I can just change one person's life, I'm happy.
And you have, and so many others, right, Jen?
Really, truly. I mean, one of the big takeaways when I was stalking Take a Breather, I say that just as a joke, but
I have a stalker. Nice.
I know. Was just, I would see testimonials from some of the CF physicians saying that they would notice, a big increase in, treatment compliance, a reset in their outlook of their illness, and, just a whole reset of the whole emotional, mental toll that, cystic fibrosis can take on others. And I think that is huge. I mean, I know the fun and the memories making, is invaluable, but I also think, how the chronic illness of CF just wears you down, and to get that breather and then be able to come back with a fresh reset button is huge, for your health and for the whole family. really. So one of the major, breather requests, and it really didn't end up, I think, tell them about the Maddie's miracle in a version was huge.
Okay, so I'll just give you a quick overview. We normally just leave our breathers to continental U.S.
Mm-hmm.
So they had requested a breather to Hawaii, and they were from Chicago. And that was one that we were kind of like, okay, we'll do this because of the situation. But we told them we weren't able to do Hawaii, but we could do something else. And then they were thinking about, what they wanted to do. In the meantime, it was just how God works. We had gotten contacted by one of our, actually the person who sets up our breathers, the travel agent. And she said, somebody wants to donate their trip, believe it or not, is a true story, to Hawaii. It couldn't have been perfect time. And when I say donate their trip, it was the penthouse of, I forget the name of the hotel. It was like 5-star hotel. Name of 5-star hotel. And that was probably it. I just don't know it off the top. And I went on their website and I'm like, man, I want to see how much this thing costs just out of curiosity. It was like $10,000 a night.
Wow.
And I was just like, oh my gosh. So we were like, okay, we're going to contact Maddie and we got this. So they were thrilled. They went. You can see pictures on our website of their trip. So fast forward a couple months, I think a year goes by and Maddie's not doing so well. She's in the hospital or she's listed for a lung transplant. And then the team tells Maddie and her mom, we just don't think this is going to work. We think you should go home on hospice. And they were devastated. So Linda, who was Maddie's mom, says, you know what? I need to contact Matt and Molly. She just called us. Something told her to call us. And I was like, Linda, I can contact, my CF care team or my transplant team here at Penn. They'll do riskier surgeries. Contacted them. They took the ball and went with it. They helicopter, life flighted her to Penn.
Wow.
Had the transplant successful. And we have a video of Maddie and her mom post-transplant. And we call it Maddie's Miracle. And it's her story about how all this evolved. I know I'm probably leaving some stuff out. My sister would be able to tell it better, but the video's on our website. Check it out. And it's just a great story. And that's another thing that, if we can help somewhere, I have good connections. The doctors here in Philadelphia are awesome. I have still stay in touch with my CF pediatrician and all the way until my doctor's here.
That is great
that's
story.
That's just another story, yeah. And
so that's like two big miracles there, like a trip to Hawaii.
Yeah.
Pre-transplant, and then you arrange a transplant. I'd say that's a really good day there, Matt.
Yeah, that's a good day. Yeah, that was a twofer.
That is fantastic.
So we're just happy for Maddie and her family and stuff. So, but yeah, that's what it's all about. Jenn and I, like Jenn said, both kind of had the same story growing up, very healthy. And it's just our way of giving back to the CF community. Because we know there's people out there struggling health-wise, financially. So, we do what we do. And when I was growing up, there's 30,000 people in this country living with CF.
40,000 now, but yeah.
40.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So in my town was another boy with CF, my age. We went to the same school and we sat in the same classroom together. Like, what are the odds of that happening? I hear a lot of people say, oh, I've never met another CF person in my life. Now with social media, it's all different. And we both knew we had CF, but it was around the time that they were like, the CF camps and stuff, they were shutting them down.
Right.
Because of cross-contamination. We would be in the back seat of, I just remember the back seat of a car. we'd be coughing all over each other and, sixth graders and stuff. We didn't know.
Right.
And unfortunately, John passed away at the end of our sixth grade year.
Wow.
He did have it a lot worse. And the one event we do in Narberth is also in his honor. And his family are very involved in that event of ours, and they've been with us since the beginning. So it's just, CF can be a small world, especially with social media now. Like, I'm not on social media like Jenn, so she's our guru. She
is the guru. She is on there. I see her. And, so what if somebody is interested in Take a Breather? Do they have to be referred? Do they tell their CF doctor, hey, could you refer me? Or how does it work if they're interested in learning more or getting a Take a Breather trip?
So they would reach out to our director of giving, and her name is McBryan. She's also my sister.
Wonderful. Those two sisters you talk about. Yeah.
Yep. And she will go over the whole process with them. They need a nomination letter from one of their care team members, be it a social worker, a dietitian. I think most of them come from social workers.
Okay.
And then what happens, like Jenn said, so we started off, it was strictly kids. And then I started to see this need for adults a few years ago. So we kind of did a test pilot program with Penn, and we told them, nominate 2 adults this year and we'll see how it goes. They nominated 2 adults. It was great. Obviously they're going to be like, oh yeah, the adults, if we're giving free trips away, it's going to work. So we've continued. Now we've opened it up to everybody. You can be an adult with CF or a child with CF.
Wonderful. Your link is in our show notes. So anybody who's looking for the link can go in our show notes as well.
Or you can reach out to Jenn on social media.
You're funny.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what do you hope for the future for Take a Breather? And first answer that, and then I had another question for you as well.
So at first I was like, I want to grow this thing so we can reach out to everybody, but they were lofty thoughts at the time, across the country. And once you get into it, you see some of the obstacles you're dealing with, fundraising being number one. I wish I had an unlimited budget because, like Jenn said, I never want to turn anybody down. But unfortunately, that's not the way of the world. And it is increasingly, and you probably know, Laura, with your foundation, it's increasingly harder to get funds.
It is, yes.
Some of the CF medications, either they're not being used as much, with some of the new meds, they're doing wonders for people with CF. So the pharma companies, we've noticed, just don't have the budgets for promotion, advertising, all that. So they've cut back. So we're being forced to cut back. We're looking for different ways to raise funds and maybe reaching out to different family foundations and grants.
Right. But you still want to keep going forward because we...
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. And that is wonderful. So you're still, people can reach out and still run their thoughts and plans by you, maybe of what they want to do. And then, Jenn, what are your hopes for Take a Breather in the future?
I would like it to be, to keep it going. And that's the goal of everyone at Take a Breather, to keep this going and it not to end. Currently, Matt, I think, needs to balance, both things, his health and the foundation, but we were all behind him in the foundation, and are happy to pick up and take over. So whenever he needs, a day of rest or all that stuff. But yeah, the goal is to keep making a difference, in the here and now lives of families and people living with CF, for sure.
Well, I think it's a beautiful thing that you started, Matt, and your sisters have really powered through with over these years. And Jen's on board. She's.
We do have a great team. I just want to I just want to give them a shout out because they've picked up a lot of slack. Obviously, I pretty much homebound, so I work from home in the mornings as much as I can on kind of more of a volunteer basis now. And it's a lot of work with events, as you know. But the guys have really picked up and they just keep the foundation running. My sisters, Jenn, Laura, and Liz, I just want to give those guys a shout out.
Absolutely.
Because they're doing an amazing job.
Well, I think you're amazing, Matt. You're inspiring. You're incredible. I'm so glad we got to do this podcast. I don't know when, but I hope to meet you in person at some point.
Right.
You're just wonderful, both of you. So it's been wonderful to be able to share about what you're doing and your lives. And we'll stay in touch, of course. But thank you for coming on and talking about your Take a Breather Foundation.
Thank you for having us. We really appreciate you giving us this time and opportunity to talk about our mission and, spread the word where we can.
And thanks for all you do, Laura.
Yeah.
And your foundation.
And your foundation.
Oh, thank you.
Amazing work. Yeah.
Thank you so much. We are definitely all in this together, right?
Yes, we are.
And we will end on that very positive note. So thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The original music in this podcast is performed by Kevin Allen, who happens to have cystic fibrosis.
We all got our worries and fears. I know it's got you frustrated, but loving you is so alright.
This has been the Living with Cystic Fibrosis podcast. For more information and to learn more about the Bonnell Foundation, visit our website at thebonnellfoundation.org. That's the BONNELL Foundation.org. This podcast was sponsored by Viatris, Genentech, and Vertex. It was produced by Jag and Detroit Podcasts. Follow our show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening right now.